So I hope you've had time to do the practice problems. There are only 4 of them. Here are the answers. For the first 2, you were just supposed to factor completely, and for the second 2, use the quadratic formula to solve. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to look over them, see if your practice answers agree with those. If they do and you don't have any questions, then please go on back to the Nearpod and do the homework. The homework has 10 questions this time because it's also the review for the quiz. And you can check your answers to the homework and then carefully take the quiz. Give you another couple seconds here to look. If you did not get these answers and you have questions, then please stay around and we'll work these out together. So I'm going to remove these answers now. Hopefully you got them. If not, let's work them out. So, factoring completely. These happen to be trinomials. First rule of factoring. They did not want you to solve them because they didn't have any equal sign. It wasn't an equation, just an expression. First rule of factoring. Is there any common factor we can pull out of everything? Well, maybe. Looks like we can take out a 5. We could take x's out of both of these, but not out of that. So, going to take out a 5. And that looks good. But maybe this will factor some more. This part here in the parentheses, it's still a trinomial. Maybe there's 2 numbers that multiply out to negative 12 and add up to positive 6. We might be able to do that. We might be able to have 5 times something else. It's like 5 is times all of this. We could still try the x if you like that. We would need 2 numbers that multiply out. A times c is going to be 1 times negative 12. And b is going to be 4. So, do you know 2 numbers that multiply out to negative 12? Add up to positive 4. I got 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. I'm going with a 2 and a 6. Now, one of them needs to be negative because it multiplied out to a negative 12. But they add up to a positive 4, so the 6 has got to be positive. It's going to have to be a negative. Negative 2 times 6 multiplies out to negative 12. Negative 2 plus 6 adds up to positive 4. So we're good. After we factored the 5 off of this, we just have 1x squared here. So this is going to be x minus 2y and x plus 6y. Those would be our solution. We don't want to solve the equation. We just want it factored. And we're done. Second one. Last time we could pull off a common factor. Can we do that this time? It looks like we could yank a 6 out of everybody. So that takes care of the common factor. But now we have this trinomial. And maybe it will factor further. Maybe we can break this down to its own set of parentheses. So we need two numbers that multiply out to -2 add up to -1. A times C be 1 times -2. B is -1. Well, we don't have much we can do to get -2. To multiply out to a 2, you have to have a 1 and a 2. It's got to multiply out to a -2, add up to a -1. So the negative sign would have to be on the 2. 1 times -2 is -2. 1 plus -2 is -1. Looks like we got it. Because we already pulled the 6 out and away from all the terms, we are only looking at 1x squared here. So we can just go with x and x and bring over the +1 and the -2. We're not trying to solve it, just trying to factor it. Solving is what happens in the next two problems. Quadratic formula. Is it all set up in the right order? ax squared bx plus c equals 0. It's got to be that way or the quadratic formula. So a equals 2, b equals -5, and c equals 2. So x should equal the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. So that would give us that x equals 5 plus or minus, well, -5 times -5 is 25. 4 times 2 is 8 times 2 is 16. So x equals 5 plus or minus the square root of 9 over 4. Well, that would be 5 plus or minus 3 over 4. So x should equal 5 plus 3 over 4, which would be 8/4 or 2. Or x is going to equal 5 minus 3 over 4, which would be 2/4 or 1/2. And both of those would be solutions to this equation up here. If we got patience, we can do the same thing with number 4. B equals 5, C equals 1. Put it in the formula. X is going to equal the opposite of 5, plus or minus square root b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. So x is still going to be -5 plus or minus 5 squared is 25 minus 12 all over 6. So x will equal -5 plus or minus the square root of 13 all over 6. And that doesn't simplify any further. It's a messy looking little answer, but it does still mean we have 2 roots, 2 x-intercepts. Sorry about the motorcycle in the background. They're having a good afternoon. And I hope you will too. Please contact me if you have any questions about the problems.